All right, good evening. I'm Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri. At about 6 o'clock this evening, deputies responded to an address here on Curlew Place in Palm Harbor. One of the residents had been out walking and saw a male walking between two of the residences here carrying a handgun. That person was later identified as Todd W. Rowe, R-O-W-E. Date of birth,
Two D's?
yes, 2 D's, Todd W. Rowe. Date of birth 10/17/69. As it turns out, he resides here in the 2200 block of Curlew Avenue. And the resident was concerned because they saw Rowe walking between the houses. He had a gun in his hands. The resident reported hearing a gunshot and that he had discharged the firearm. The resident called, sheriff's deputies responded, and one of the responding deputies was Deputy Chris Lyons. Deputy Lyons parked to the east of the residence, spoke with another neighbor who said that they had seen Rowe outside with a gun, and he had a history of being outside with the gun in the past. So Deputy Lyons went to the backyard of the residence trying to find Rowe and to investigate the incident. And as Deputy Lyons was in the backyard to the south, there's an embankment, and Deputy Lyons had gone down the embankment to provide some cover and concealment for himself. At that point, he saw Rowe come out of his residence and appear in the southeast corner of the backyard. At that point, Deputy Lyons saw that Rowe had a firearm in his hand. The firearm is in the backyard, and it looks to me to probably be about a .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun. But again, we'll need to make that further determination as we continue the investigation. Deputy Lyons told Rowe to drop the handgun and several times ordered him to drop the gun. And that's confirmed by an independent witness, neighbor, who heard what was going on and heard Deputy Lyons challenge Rowe and tell him several times to drop the gun. Rowe did not drop the gun. He had it pointed in Deputy Lyons' direction, and as Deputy Lyons moved, he actually started tracking Deputy Lyons as he was moving to try and get away and to move off to the side. At that point, because Rowe was not following commands to drop the gun, and he was pointed it at Deputy Lyons, and of course at that point being in fear and concern for his safety, Deputy Lyons fired about 4 rounds. One of the rounds struck Rowe in the upper body, and the latest from the hospital is that Rowe is alive, and these are not life-threatening injuries. He was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital in Tampa, where he remains. So the investigation's ongoing at this point. Rowe does have a history, pretty extensive history, for a number of offenses. He's known to the sheriff's office. We had an altercation with him here in 2014, again when he had a firearm. He was arrested as a result of an incident where he was uncooperative with the deputies and expressed at that point that he was willing and wanted to fight the deputies. So he has a history of being anti-law enforcement and also has a history of alcohol-related incidents. Now, we don't know how much he's been drinking tonight. There is some evidence of alcohol consumption. We don't know about mental health issues, but that'll be all part of the investigation as it continues. So that's pretty much what we know at this point, and happy to take any questions you have.
When you say he was tracking the deputy, can you describe what he was doing with his hands and how he was moving
Right,
about?
so the way it was described and the way in talking to Deputy Lyons, what happened is he was down the embankment. So Rowe was in the backyard, and Rowe had the firearm out like this, and Deputy Lyons was moving for concealment and cover, so he was tracking him and following him as Deputy Lyons was trying to move away. So very concerning, obviously, because it showed the intent on his part, and when he was told to drop the gun, he didn't drop the gun, and in fact, as Deputy Lyons was moving, Rowe was tracking him in those movements, and that's what Deputy Lyons had to fire to protect himself.
Was Deputy Lyons moving like to find cover, and was he running as he was doing so?
And it was kind of moving side to side, so he wasn't running, but yes, he was moving to gain a better position to cover and to assess the situation, and again, giving those verbal commands to Rowe to drop that gun, and he wasn't doing it. And as soon as he didn't drop the gun and his Lyons was moving and Rowe was following him with a gun, then of course Deputy Lyons had to protect himself, and that's when he fired. All right, we'll provide further information as we know it, but as always, that's the best information and what we know at this point.
Is the witness you were talking about, is that a resident of a nearby home? I mean, the person who heard the commands, who is that person?
Yeah, it is a resident here, and that person's in the process of being interviewed right now by Sheriff's homicide detectives. There are several witnesses here, and again, as always, we're in the very early stages of this. We'll be here for several hours tonight conducting the investigation and talking to additional witnesses, but there are several witnesses that saw him with a gun, and the original complainant and others that were aware of what was happening.
The deputy will be suspended with pay, sort of thing, on administrative leave.
Yeah, normal course of action is we put them on administrative leave just to make sure that everything's fine with them. You'll go through that normal process that we always follow in these cases. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Thank you.